disasters never happen when it's convenient. They just happen when they happen. And sometimes even now I think we're not immune. The next one could happen tomorrow.
So the rain started falling, and as it continued to rain, as it had been raining, the river started to rise. And we knew, as usual, that something was going to happen. So we were on watch, even from before Christmas.
We had a torrential downpour of rain for days, and actually my mom had called me concerned because we live right by the river.
We started monitoring the weather report, and we were already aware of some of flooding issues that had occurred in our area 6 months before this, and so we were concerned.
People are normally able to call the Salvation Army when they have needs, and so we started to get those calls saying, my basement is flooding, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go. And we started responding immediately, and it became apparent that we would have to set up an incident command system, that this was going to be massive. It wasn't just going to be one or two families in certain places. This was going to be widespread.
We went to bed on the Sunday, woke up the next day, and everybody on our street had U-Haul trucks in their driveway and frantically moving. And so we jumped on the bandwagon and did the same.
There was a lot of flooding right after Christmas that happened in the Missouri and Illinois area. And the Salvation Army, as usual, we were on the scene responding.
We've lived here 35 years, and I've been the manager here for 22 years. We have probably about 74 families live here or more. And we had probably 30 to 35 that were in the flood.
A lot of families lost everything. There was total devastation. And unfortunately, everyone wasn't prepared for the flood waters to rise so quickly. Also, a lot of people were suffering because they didn't have flood insurance. It's kind of expensive. And in certain areas, if you don't live in a floodplain, you can't have flood insurance. And so there were families who were affected who could do nothing about that. So we were on the scene to definitely help those families. We did immediate assistance, but we're also going to do long-term case management with families.
One of my favorite mottos of the Salvation Army is heart to God, hand to man. And to me, that means that we are there to help people in all walks of life and in every area of need.
We were a little short on people. And we had this homeless guy that we'd been working with over Christmas, and he was just kind of hanging around. So I said, come on, Mike, and gave him a vest, and we got our jackets on and our gloves, and we went down to where they were sandbagging down by the Merrimack River. And the thought occurred to me, it was kind of ironic at the time, that this guy, and you couldn't really tell us apart because we were in our jeans and our disaster vest, and here I am the guy in charge, and he's the homeless guy, but we were both doing the same thing, trying to help people stay in their homes. And as far as they were concerned, there was no difference. We were both Salvation Army, and we were there to help.
I even saw Salvation Army out there as well, giving out, like, they were out and about in the trucks, giving
Hot meals.
Meals, water, whatever they could. I mean, some of the people, half the time you're not even thinking that you've been moving and hauling stuff for 6 hours, so, you're not thinking, somebody stops you, you're like, are you hungry? Yes. I believe I am. I forgot about that. So, I mean, just having them around to provide those goods was just, I don't have to take time, go get something, come back, figure out what I mean. They were just there, and they were on it. And we didn't even ask for that. They were just in the area.
Yeah, and that went on for, 2 or 3 weeks after the flood, receded. There were still Salvation Army trucks.
The Salvation Army came with sandwiches and chips and drinks and stuff, and went around to different people's houses and stuff, and asked them if they wanted, something to eat, or if they needed this or needed that,
People that were exhausted and really, really frustrated and tired, it just kind of changed the whole atmosphere. The Salvation Army's here, they got the equipment, they got the people, they have good, hot, fresh food.
So with other agencies, we partnered and we helped flood victims out with things like material assistance, cleanup kits, which had brooms, mops, gloves, things like that they could use to clean up their homes. if they were able to go in them.
We first came in contact with the Salvation Army at the middle school when they had a joint meeting of FEMA and Red Cross, Salvation Army, several people. And you get in a line and you'd go through and you'd go to each individual person. And the Salvation Army wrote us a voucher for $250 to Walmart, and that was the first contact.
We were writing checks to locations like Walmart or Shop and Save or Schnucks, where people could go and get food, clothing, personal care items, things that they really could not get or use anymore that were previously in their house. So we were giving that kind of immediate assistance.
And it wasn't just about money either. You could have made an entire whole new wardrobe with the amount of supplies that they had. They were offering cleanup supplies, not even just for humans. They had pet supplies as well, because who doesn't have a dog or a cat somewhere?
There was one lady who told us that every year she gave the Salvation Army. And we were very grateful, but we had a hard time because she didn't want to receive anything from us. So sitting at the table, there's an older woman and there's 3 of us behind the table trying to convince her. It took about 5 minutes to let us help her. She felt like she didn't deserve it. She felt like, I give to you guys, I don't want to take anything from you. But we really had to convince her that that's what we're here for. We're here to help everybody. And so we appreciate what you do, but let us do what we do. We're trying to do the most good for everybody. And eventually, with a tear running down her face, she accepted the check from us to go get some of the immediate needs that she had.
It carries on a lot longer than you might think. After the first rush and the first couple weeks and the food drives and the shelters opening up and the cleaning supplies being gathered, there's a reality that happens after that of a lot of people have forgotten, life goes on, people that weren't affected by the flood are going about their normal business, and the Salvation Army is still here.
The Salvation Army's actually called us and said, how are things going? Have you made any progress? Are things looking better now? Because before they knew, which is still the case, we have no house. How's that going? Are we looking for something for long term?
Longer term, we're definitely going to supply or replace items that people lost, such as the water heaters, sump pumps, things like that. That'll be over the course of 6 months to a year. We're really going to surround some of these families who really need that long-term support and make sure that they are accessing all the other agencies and resources that are out there, while also walking hand in hand to make sure that they get to a place of stability and sufficiency that they were before the flood.
We were at the Multi-Agency Resource Center, and one of the ladies came by that I had known. In fact, she was a bell ringer for us for several years, and just a little bitty thing. She couldn't stand the cold very long, so she'd ring while it was nice and then leave us as the weather got colder. But she came and I said, were you impacted by the flood? She said, yes, we lost everything. But I'm so glad to see you, General. And she gives me this big hug. Well, I'm not the general, but for a minute I felt like it. It was because there are people, They're the people we work with during the year, people we raise funds with, people that come to us for help other times, people that support us. The community is just incredible. It's, when you think Salvation Army, it's not just the officers and a handful of volunteers. During a disaster, all of a sudden, we're a huge army.
This whole ordeal could have been a lot worse without the Salvation Army. I really think things could have been a lot worse for us, and I'm very grateful for the Salvation Army. I say thank you to them every day.
Another expression sometimes you might hear is we counter acts of nature with acts of God, because it's generally people that love God and just want to serve Him and serve their neighbor that come alongside us. So what we do in a disaster is kind of a concentrated effort of what we do all year long, and that's coordinate with people and find people that believe in our mission, that come alongside to help us and just try to meet the need in the community, whatever it might be.
And you never forget. You never forget those people and their faces and their look of hopelessness. And sometimes with just a touch or a whisper of a prayer or is something that gives them hope again that it's going to be okay and that we're here, that the Salvation Army is not just there at the crisis point, but we're there to help find their way to a new beginning.